Hi, welcome back to WSO2 Integrator series. Property Mediator and Property Group Mediators are among the most frequently used mediators in WSO2 MI because almost every integration flow requires storing, retrieving, modifying, or passing the data between mediators. Let's get started. We'll understand about the property. Next, we'll see about the property mediator, including syntax, data types, scopes, and accessibility. Further, we'll see about the property group mediator. We'll also see about the key differences and some of the best practices. So, before we dive into property mediator, let's understand the simple concept that every developer is already familiar with. Variables or a property. A temporary variable stored within a message context is called a property. So if you have worked with the programming languages like Java, Python or JavaScript, you probably written something like string username is equal to comma. Here, username is a variable that stores a value which can be accessed and reused throughout the application. Now, in WSO2 MI, we have similar concept called property. For example, property name is equal to username and the value is comma. Just like variables in programming, properties allow to store information during the message processing and use it later in the integration flow. But properties in MI are much more powerful than traditional variables. In programming, variables typically store primitive values or objects, while in WSO2 MI, a property can store simple text values, entire JSON objects, XML fragments, or even complex message. So what's a property mediator? A property mediator is used to set properties, remove properties, modify properties, store runtime values, configure transport settings, access to parameters as well. We can access the same via context variable like CTX, transport like $TRP, and access to properties like $access to and via get property function. WSO2 recommendation is to use property mediator for configuration related properties. From MI 4.4 onwards, variable mediator is preferred over property mediator for storing the business data. Below are some of the examples of property mediator, from setting the static value to expressions and removing a property. Now, here are some of the key attributes of property mediator like name, value, expression for dynamics value ingestion, action for setting or removing, scope within the sequence or access or the transport, the type which defines the data types, the pattern and the group. Now let's see some of the data types that are supported by WSO2 MI. We have a string, integer, boolean, double, float, long, short, OM and JSON data types. Here are some of the syntaxes that shows how these data types can be used while we declare a property. Now let's see about the scopes. A scope defines where the property is stored and how long it lives. Now we'll see some of the scopes which are typically used in WSO2 MI. So first of all, we have a synapse, which is the default scope. The property set in this scope lasts long as the transaction, which is a request and response, exists. The transport level scope, which defines the properties to be considered in the headers. For example, if it is required to send HTTP header name custom header with an outgoing request, you can use the property mediator configuration with this scope. Access to properties set in this scope have a shorter lifespan than those set in the Synapse scope. These are mainly used for passing parameters to the underlying access to engine. Access to clients is also similar to Synapse scope, but the difference between the two scopes is that access to clients scope can be accessed inside the mediate method of a mediator via custom mediator that is typically created using the class mediator. Operation, it is used to retrieve a property in the operation context level. A registry, this scope is used to retrieve the properties within the registry. System, this scope is used to retrieve some like system properties like Java. Environment, this scope is used to retrieve environment variable like env, and the file, which is used to retrieve properties in the file.properties. Here is the sample syntax for defining the property, including the scopes. Here are some of the syntax which shows how we define the scope while we defining the property, like scope, default, transcode, access to client, registry, env, and the file. Now let's see how to access those properties that we have declared in previous section. We can access the properties using the XPath variables. The sample syntax for using a context property, we use $ctx. Similarly, for transport header, we use $trp. For access2, we use $access2. And using the get property function of the above variables at the different scopes can be accessed using the get property function as per the given syntax. Now let's see the property group mediator. A property group mediator is typically called a container. This allows multiple property mediators to be grouped together. This improves the readability, maintainability, organizing the properties, and reusability of the same. All the properties are initialized together that are declared within the property group mediator, and a property group can set and remove the properties within the same block. Here is the sample syntax where we define a property group description. Inside the same, we have different properties. Now let's see some of the differences between the property and the property group mediator, which clearly defines which one to use and when. For example, a property mediator is for single property, while the property group is for multiple. Some of the capabilities are available in both of the mediators, like scope support expressions. Also, the readability is high in property group mediator compared to the property mediator, and it's used mostly in the larger flows. Here are some of the best practices while using the property and the property group mediator. Like the default scope, for using the default scope for business data, it must be done very carefully. While using the we must be using the transport for the headers and access2 while configuring the transports. We must use the property group when we set multiple headers or parameters, audit information, etc. And most importantly, we must use the logical naming convention or the nomenclature and the description in the property and the property group mediator. So the demo will be available in the next video. So till then, thank you very much and stay tuned for my next video.